This podcast is sponsored by www.gambleriskfree.com, teaching you how to make guaranteed profit from bookies. Any free bet you get teaches you how to turn it into real withdrawable cash. They also find free bets for you so you don't have to do any work. Take a look at their website and enter the promo code Gooner Ramble when joining. GambleRiskFree.com.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Gooner Ramble. My name is Callum, and I'm hosting today, and I'm joined today by Mark. Good to speak to you, mate.
Hello, mate. Good to be on again.
Good stuff. And to James as well.
Hello.
Right, I think we're all happy to be on tonight. We're coming at you today, the day after a great 3-0 win over Chelsea. It's been quite some time that we even scored against Chelsea in the league, let alone beat them. But we put 3 past them and a half, and it was a great day all round. So, we're going to go over that. We're going to talk a little bit about, of course, Arsene Wenger's 20 years in charge this week. So we'll speak a bit about that at the end as well. But only one place to start then, guys. 3-0 win over Chelsea. I mean, before we even talk about the lineup and what happened actually in the game, I'll start with you, Mark. You went to the game yesterday. I mean, this record we've had with Chelsea in the league with, I don't think we'd beaten them in 10 league games. We hadn't beaten them since 2011, I think, when we had Van Persie and Gervinho on the score sheet that day. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it? And but did you, on your way to the game yesterday, did you in your heart of hearts really think that we were going to come out with a win?
Yeah, I mean, I predicted a bit of a tighter game than it was. I thought we'd win 2-1. I've only seen little bits of Chelsea this year, but I think they're struggling under Conte to really find their identity and the style of football that they want to play. So I think they're a little bit 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So I wasn't really worried about it, apart from that kind of the mental aspect of it, where that some of our players who have played against Chelsea over the years may have that little kind of feeling that they're a hoodoo team for us. And what I didn't want was, I was expecting that we would have, two or three of the new fellas in the team, or even the squad. And I didn't want them being subject to us struggling mentally and then kind of assimilating that weakness as well. So I was confident, but I thought it was very, very important from a mental point of view to get a good result.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I remember last season when, of course, they had that horrible start and we went to Stamford Bridge and there was the whole incident with Costa and Gabriel getting sent off, and we lost. And then when we hosted them at the Emirates again, they still weren't playing particularly well. And we lost again. So, no matter how, and Chelsea have had a mixed start to the league. They've not been bad by any means, but I think what you said about Conte still finding out, what his best team is, what sort of formation to play, definitely played into our favour. But, James, did you echo what Mark said, or did you, I guess in these games you always have that part of you that thinks we're going to beat them. But, with Chelsea, even without Mourinho, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with what Mark's just said. And I thought it was going to be a draw. I know you said we'll talk about the lineup and everything later on, but no, going into this, I was a bit, I was panicking because it's that typical, Arsenal way. I mean, if we look at last year when we went and played Man United and they had, what was it, like 9 or something first team players out, but we you get that cliche of you're playing the badge, like you're not playing who's there, you're playing. And I don't know, for me yesterday I just thought, do you know what, Chelsea are always this team under Conte, like you said, they're discovering, they're ropey as fuck at the back. God, did we find that out? They're so ropey. And but I just thought, I did all the podcasts during the Euros, and his Italian team mastered what I call shithousery. They were so good at getting clever bookings and just riling you. And I was like, this Chelsea team are going to try their hardest, especially with Costa and everybody else. They're going to try their hardest out here to really piss us off and get under our skin. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if it was Lauren Koscielny and Mustafi together, or if whoever it was at the start of the game that was just like, do not, let these like wind you up. Let's keep a cool head and let's get them. And boy, oh boy, did we get them.
Mm. No, you make a lot of good points, and again, as I said, Mourinho isn't at Chelsea anymore, and of course he's the boogeyman that we've had problems with for years. But Conte's still a great manager, and
of course, yeah.
Juventus in Italy, and again, I don't think in any means that Chelsea have been poor this season. I think we've seen, when we struggled at the beginning, we saw United and City and Chelsea, fly out of the blocks, and Liverpool to an extent as well. And really, City, the only team that have kept that going. United and Chelsea have dropped off a little bit, but I think. Speaking about playing the badge instead of the team, I think that's a really good point. And I think that's what we did last season in both games. And we've been guilty of that. I mean, for a long old time, we've had far too many, of these teams that we struggle against. And, it was, a real pleasant surprise, I guess. And, we'll talk about the lineup. Now, look, I think we can all say in retrospect that Wenger got the team right. And Mark, I think even you would concede that in retrospect, yeah?
I don't know. I mean, I still think Xhaka has shown enough already to be one of the first names on the team sheet. So I was disappointed that he didn't start the game. And I mean, the fact that he has to come on when Koch got injured, and he played really, really well. I thought again was good. Not that Koch didn't have a good game; he had a really good game.
He was
but what made the difference for me? I think there were probably for me there were three key things about the performance yesterday that made the difference for me. One was Mustafi, one was Walcott, and one was the fact that it seemed to me that Koch and Santi had gone back to the roles that I think they should have been playing, which was Koch sort of more holding and Santi more advanced. Whereas I know we all pushed up the field and pressed a lot higher, but I do think the two of them had reverted back a little bit, which I thought suits them a lot better than what I've seen lately, which was Koch really flying forward and Santi being at the back, which worries me in bigger games because I'm a big fan of Santi's in terms of his technical skills and his passing, but I'm not in terms of his defensive work so much. So I think that I was really pleased that they seemed to swap that round a bit. And then, as I say, I think for me the other two things was Mustafi and Walcott.
So would you have started Xhaka ahead of who? Of Coquelin?
I think I would have done, yes. Particularly given that they started with Fabregas. I think, I would.
Do you know what? I thought to myself, like, play Xhaka and Coquelin together. And people were
like... He's played pretty much every game this season. He's been, apart from the League Cup game, I mean...
Yeah.
I think everyone wants to see Xhaka in the team after that, performance at Watford, after the great goal he scored against Hull.
Yeah.
But there's an issue here because we are playing Özil every game, of course, and he's always the first name on the team sheet. And in a game like yesterday, Coquelin is a player that I always want in there because he of course made his name in that great away performance at Man City. He's a guy who is a big game player. I mean, he got himself sent off against Tottenham last season, but he is a player who rises to the occasion. But then of course Cazorla's always in there. So what would you have done, James? Would you have had Xhaka in as well instead of who, Coquelin or Cazorla? Or
I wouldn't have minded if you played Xhaka and Coquelin together, just from the point of view of that. All right, I'm talking now, seeing what the result would be. But I thought that they were gonna fly out the blocks a bit more than what they did. I know they get this reputation of being the bus team, but I just thought if they fly out the blocks like we've got, if we have Coquelin and Xhaka, who for me as well, Xhaka's got that fire in him. He's got he gets sent off every now and then, but he's got that sort of combative type of mentality. And Santi, for me, loved the guy. The guy's a bloody wizard, and I can't slag him off. He put in a shift yesterday as well, but he looks a bit leggy now. The age thing's getting to him a bit, and I just thought him and Coquelin together, all right, one of them might overcommit forward or do this, but Xhaka would still thread attacking work, but you would have solidified it a bit more and made us a bit harder to break down. But obviously that's in hindsight, and I mean, we've all seen what happened. But
it worked out quite nicely in the end because I think Coquelin had a great start to the game, was getting about, made a lot of good tackles. Then, of course, we don't want him to go off injured, and there's Wenger said that it looks like he's maybe hurt his knee. in the same place that he hurt it at West Brom last season.
Yeah.
Which hit him out for a while, but we did get to see Xhaka, who did come in and he made a big
and
impact.
I'll tell you as well, I was so glad that Iwobi started, because I know we'd sit during the WhatsApp group during the week, all of you were like, well, James, why do you not think it? I truly thought he was going to go with a Giroud, or he was going to play the period. I really didn't think he'd go for Sanchez in the false nine.
It's interesting, because
I was happy that he played Iwobi, well happy.
Well, all season I've been waiting for. I mean, at the beginning of the year when Giroud came back from the Euros and we hadn't signed Perez at this point, he was playing Alexis up front, and it felt like it was kind of a makeshift. We'll play him there until we get Giroud's fully fit and when Perez arrived. But he's been, in the week he played Perez. He played very well, got 2 goals against Forest, but he still doesn't seem to want to put Giroud in there. And Perez again, he's not starting any games in the league. So I was kind of expecting to see Alexis up top again. And Mark, what did you think of that? I mean, we saw in the PSG game, for example, Alexis really didn't have a sniff when he was playing up front. And then, of course, when he got moved to the left, when Giroud did come on, he played really well from the left and got his goal. Do you think that, he got the first goal because he was playing up top, he was harrying the defence. Do you think that we should be still considering Alexis as a striker after, he's been in great form playing there, I guess, over the last few weeks?
Well, I'd say, look, to me, it's horses for courses. If you're playing Chelsea and you're playing Luiz and Cahill, then maybe you need someone like Alexis who's going to put them under a bit more pressure. He's going to worry them a lot more than the sort of centre forward that Giroud is. Yeah. So as much as I'm not a huge fan of Alexis playing centre forward, because I like him playing on the left, and I like what Giroud can give us up front. Don't get me wrong. Yes, of course, I'd rather have an upgrade, a world-class centre forward up front. But Giroud does a job. But I think the job that he does, it often can depend what centre halves he's playing against. And I guarantee you that Luiz and Cahill would have much rather have been up against Giroud than they were against Alexis. Because Alexis is a pain in the arse. He's a little wasp who buzzes around and he puts pressure onto those centre halves. And in Premier League football, with the speed of the game, the more pressure you can put on centre halves who are not particularly the best at playing the ball, the more likely you are that they will mess up, which we kind of saw. So I thought it was a good pick. Is there something going on? Is Giroud not quite fully fit? I don't know. Perez is obviously still finding his feet, so I don't think that's the sort of game you're going to sling him into. But I liked Alexis did really, really well, and I thought he was the right choice up there for this game, definitely.
No, it's a great point. I think I think one of the biggest reasons why people haven't wanted him up front is because we're losing him on the wing, and he's of course in the 100 games he's played for us, he spent the majority of the time either on the right or on the left, and he's been incredible there by and large. So when we saw against PSG when he was up there on his own, not only were we having a really ineffective striker up there because he was kind of isolated, we also lost a great wide man. But of course now after yesterday's game we have Walcott. He seems to have rediscovered his form on the right. Iwobi I thought was fantastic yesterday as well on the left. So this front three, I think we're going to see a little bit more of. And speaking of this, James, I want to put something to you. Do you think that, for all season, one of the biggest discussions has been about Alexis as a striker and whether or not that's ever going to work. And do you think that actually as fans we put a little bit too much impetus or we put too much importance on, which players are playing in which position, and actually much more of it comes down to the attitude of the players and the way they put themselves about? Do you think, yesterday, most people I think would have wanted Xhaka to start. They would have wanted maybe Perez up front. But what do you think of that?
That is such a brilliant question, mate. It really is.
Thank you very much.
It's a tough one to think because, yesterday you can't knock anything at all. I thought that selection, everything, it was justified in the end. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And like Mark's just said, Sanchez is a centre-back's nightmare. He was an absolute pain in the arse. But, let's not get carried away. We can't press teams like that every game. It'll get fat. But it's, I've always said it's picking your style to suit your fights. Everybody knows that, some of us are like fans of UFC and boxing and everything else like that. You pick your style to suit your fight. And yesterday we picked ours perfectly. But, you know, it could go wrong next week. It could go right again for the next 10, 11 games. But like I said, it's picking stars, sleep back. But no, in terms of the selection dilemmas and everything else like that, it's not like how it was, you know, with Ramsey playing out wide. We all saw what that did to the boy. You know, we got these players that can fit into these holes, but it's using them in the right. It's like I've said, it's using it in the right time, in the right place, and also, you know, in the right environment. Like yesterday, I think not only did the players and Arsene Wenger's team selection play a big part. Mark, you were there, but watching it on the TV, mate. All right, I ain't got like a 52-inch like Clive and all that says, but I got a big TV in the front room. It's a 40. I'm rocking a 40. You know, I'm not all
It's
shit.
respectable. It's respectable.
Yeah. And it sounded, and I ain't got surround sound either, but it sounded booming in there. It was brilliant. I mean, BT, fair play to them. I slag off their coverage, but they did a brilliant opening package with Righty, which got me up for this. Even I'm like, yeah, come on. I'm like, please, please, come on. I'm like, can we just? I want these. They're shit bags. Yeah. And you know, we have other fans listen to this. We probably have a Chelsea fan. You're shit. You're shit bags. I hate you. You're shit bags. You're scum.
And I think we're allowed to feel that way after the numbers they've done on us.
And I'll tell you something. I was, you know, call me the Hive because I'm buzzing. Do you know what I mean? I was absolutely beaming. And then to see that thing with Ozil at the end with that kid, I'm like, if that kid don't get beat up on the way home for that shirt, because everyone knows what he looks like.
He was having a good old sniff, wasn't he?
Oh dear.
It was emotional.
To be honest, I did the same. I would never watch it.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. But
it was really great.
No, honestly, it just all went correct. And talking of Theo Walcott, that, you know, 140 bags a week. I'm like, you play like that every single week, Theo Walcott, and I'll never slag you off again.
You can
ever. Yeah. I'd give you a raise if you played like that every week. I'd give you a raise. Unbelievable yesterday. I'm sat there. And I'm like, Theo Walcott's bodying people. Theo Walcott, this is a guy that shit himself every time Patrice ever went near him. But with Aspilicueta and all these others yesterday, and tracking back, getting Hazard, kicking him. Get the fuck out of here. You don't belong here. Brilliant. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
But
I want that every single week.
You had a good time, James, then yesterday, yeah?
Yeah, we all did.
Oh, well, let's Mark, you were in the stadium, and first of all, you know, with the first goal, we were talking about Alexis there and his work rate, and he nicked the ball off Cahill, who he'll be having nightmares about that for years.
Yeah.
First of all, when Alexis was bearing down on goal, did you have any doubt that he was going to miss that? And second of all, I mean, you know, James said even without his surround sound, he could tell how good the atmosphere was. When that first goal went in, what was the atmosphere like? And yeah, as I said, did you think Alexis was going to miss, or were you confident?
Well, strange enough, Alexis, you know, I mean, I wasn't 100% confident, but you're sort of thinking a player of Alexis's standard should finish this one-on-one with the keeper with the amount of time he had. But then again, you'd say the same thing about the penalty the other day. You know, he should be finishing them, and it was a poor penalty. So, you know, all players can miss one. So, you know, it's one of those ones where you're like, you've got confidence and you've got faith, and he finished it really, really well. I mean, the atmosphere in the ground was good. It was a very cagey opening period to the game. I mean, we were chatting beforehand with Chris Suburban Gooner, who you know kind of really, really hates Chelsea a lot, shall I say. Now, I mean, I really hate Chelsea quite a lot because I live in West London, so I've got surrounded by loads of them that seem to have appeared out of the woodwork over the last sort of 12 years, 13 years. Fan. Exactly. So, you know, I really hate them, but obviously, no, they're not going to come close to the level of hatred that I have for the scum up the road. But the atmosphere was really, really good because I think, you know, this is one of the games that we do get up for. But also, I think there's a little bit of nervousness because of the fact that we've got such an awful record against them, home and away. I think, you know, there was still a little bit of tension in the air. But once that first goal went in, I think there was a lot of tension that came out. And then people really, really enjoyed it. And to me, it was almost a carbon copy of the United game last season, you know, where we kind of like pressed them really, really hard and fast, got the goals that we needed. And then second half, we just did what was needed, which was sit back, let them have a little bit more ball, try and pick him off on the break. And the same thing, we didn't really get any more goals, but, you know, we didn't look like conceding too often either. So.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that the United game. We seem to have made a habit the last 3 seasons. We beat Liverpool 4-1 at the end of the 2014-15 season. We beat United 3-0 last season. We beat Chelsea 3-0. In all 3 games, we've won by 3 goals, and in all 3 games, both Özil and Alexis have got on the score sheet. And I think there's no coincidence in the fact that our 2 marquee names are players that have really turned up and performed on those days. And also, talking back to the United game, we scored. Alexis got the goal, didn't he, early on in that with the back heel at the front post, and then we scored pretty soon after. I can't remember who got the second. Was it Özil? Yeah, it was Özil, wasn't it? From a Walcott headed back to him. And I don't know how many minutes between the first and second goal yesterday, but
I think it was 2. Or
yeah, it was like
1 minute. It was 1 minute,
quickly.
42 seconds or so.
But let's talk about the second goal, because the first goal, of course, was it was all of Alexis. Well, Gary Cahill being shite, and also Alexis being a workhorse with an absolutely superb finish at the end. The second goal was, this was us, Arsenal. We don't see this often enough, but it was when we are at our best. Our tails are up, the crowds are behind us, and I think when I watched it, because I kind of only was watching it and I saw Walcott score and I thought, he scored a tap in, but the build up was pretty special. Wobie linking up with Özil, hitting it out to Bellerin, cut across to Walcott. Mark, what did you make of the second goal? It must have been great at that point when the crowd's up and we're 1-0 up and knocking the ball about with such confidence. In particular, what did you make of Iwobi's role in that? Because he had the composure in a tight area to pick his head up, find Bellerin, who's always out on that right wing, and he played it across to Walcott for a tap in.
Yeah, look, I really like Iwobi as a player. The guy is, how old is he? 19?
20. I think.
I think he's just about
yes,
20.
Mark.
Now,
Iwobi,
that does come with a caveat, though, Josh. Yeah, I'm not going to let Woz down completely. I do like Iwobi as a player. I like watching him. I love his socks, particularly. But he never hides. He always wants the ball. And when he's got the ball, he always looks to get something done. He always wants to actually create something. And keep the ball moving and be an offensive player. I have to agree with some of the comments I've seen from Woz about when he hasn't got the ball. Now, the problem is, the lad is 20. He never had a loan of any sort. So he has come into this Arsenal team last season when things were rough. We had a lot of injuries, so that was why he was getting his chance. And he's done really, really well. I think he's done well. Yes, he's had some bad games. But the guy is 20, he's lacking experience, so for my money, he's done really, really well. And I think he can be a big player in the future. I'm just concerned that we don't rely on him too much, because he sometimes, and I think he has got a little bit of a style that's a bit languid, but sometimes he does look like he's a bit tired and his legs are getting a bit heavy. So I am concerned that we don't burn him out, but when he's got the ball, I love the kid. I think he's great. He has got a lot to learn about switching on quickly when in transition, when the ball's been turned over, and he needs to give, if he's playing on that wide position, he needs to be able to give his fullback a little bit more protection. But other than that, I love the kid. I think he's great.
No, I think any of us could really argue with any of that, and it's not a new thing to have a wide player at Arsenal who doesn't track back, and of course with our wing backs consistently pushing up, as we saw with Bellerin for the assist yesterday, we do need wingers who can get back, and that was something that Walcott did very well yesterday. James, you talked about him going back.
I was going to say, it took 10 years for him to learn to do it, so hopefully Iwobi gets it quicker. But
this is the thing. People who were listening won't know this, but we were having a bit of a discussion with a very drunken Woz yesterday, who was, he's a big Walcott fan, and I don't think he's quite as convinced by Iwobi as a lot of us are. And I do think he makes some good points with regards to him, and what you're echoing there as well, Mark, that he does need to be able to track back some more. One thing I would argue, and I'll put this to you, James, is that I don't think that Iwobi's future is actually as a winger. I think his play in the second goal was him in a central position between the lines. And having the vision and the composure to find the ball out wide, and that's something that Walcott still hasn't got at 27. I think Iwobi is actually a player who's more suited to actually playing where Özil plays, which of course is a bit of a problem because Özil's never going to be dropped, and rightly so. But Do you think, James, that Iwobi is going to be a winger for us? You know, he's playing at the moment, but do you not think that he would be more suited to a more central position where, because he's very two-footed, he seems to be very calm in those positions, and he's got, you know, he's got quick feet, the kind of, you know, the kind of things you need to play in that position. I think he's got.
Yeah, no, I think he's destined to be on that wing, mate, now. And for me, it's on the last couple of performances. You can't drop this boy. I mean, the other week against Hull, the back heel, I'm like, bloody hell. I'm like, that's amazing. And then, like you've said, in the build-up for this goal, he's threaded that ball to Bellerin beautifully. And I mean, I ain't even going to go into my love for Bellerin until later on. But, you know, I'm talking about how much I love Iwobi right now, but Jesus Christ, Bellerin. Oh, I'll save that for later. But no, he's on the wings. I mean, look at the ones that we chucked out. He's the one who's been kept, and you could have said he's the one who might have needed the loan. You know, people have said, you know, Mark earlier, he said he didn't get one. You know, people were probably going, well, after the Olympics and after what Joel Campbell did last year. I know Iwobi had a good end to the year as well, but he did sort of filter out at the end, a bit like Joe as well. You might have thought, well, Joel Campbell's this international, you know, who's done well at World Cups, he's done well in Copa Americas, so why have we shipped him and kept Iwobi? But I think Iwobi's looked at it and gone, this wide position is a position where I can grab if you know, Sanchez is going to be deployed more up front, and he's took his chances and he's doing well, and hopefully he continues.
Well, I think moving forward, I think again, speaking about defending what was said before, he's always been very adamant with Walcott that he needs to play on the right because he's not a striker and he's not a left winger. So if we've got Walcott on the right and then we're rotating Iwobi and Alexis on the left perhaps, and then using our strikers instead, there's definitely, you know, I think Mark makes a good point about not wanting to burn him out because he is young. He does need to improve, and we do need a player who can, you know, he needs to learn how to cover more at the back. As much as we love seeing him in those forward areas, you know, we do have a responsibility of having players who can defend on the wing, and that's something that, you know, Walcott has got better at over the years, although admittedly for some time he struggled with that. So, you know, 2-0 up, we were at this point having a great old time, and then of course we got the third. My stream actually died out at this point, so I missed it, and I'm pretty gutted I missed it live because it was pretty special. You know, it starts, and I mean, Chelsea, I don't know what they were doing because Özil, you know, turns Kante, I think, in their own half, sends him back to Leicester. And then suddenly we were 2-on-2 with Özil and Alexis. And Mark, I mean, how often do we see this happen where it's 2-on-2 and the players don't take advantage of it? You know, they have too many choices, or they get kind of, you know, deer in the headlights look and they mess it up. And I mean, how good was that third goal? You know, with our two, you know, best players really combining like that, and completely, you know, Luiz and Cahill didn't have a chance, did they?
No, I mean, that's about partnerships. You know, sometimes it's about an understanding that you can have, because, you know, one player may have the ball and the other player is the one making the run, and you know, each one of them needs to know what the other one is thinking. You know, because if they don't, that's where one runs into the same space, or one runs into space but doesn't receive the pass. So it is about having the quality of player, which they obviously are, but also understanding what kind of run will be made. What does the player on the ball want? Does he want you to take him away because he wants to take the chance on himself, or is he actually looking to make a run and for you to make your run so that he can play you in? So it is, I think, it's very big, and you need an understanding, and that's why, you know, you get some centre forward partnerships work really, really well. I mean, obviously we haven't really played with kind of two up front for a long, long time, but you know, if you can get it with the centre forward and the 10, then yeah, you're onto a winner.
Yeah, and those two players are, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I see, you know, Özil set up Alexis or the other way around, I think it's always great to see, you know, our two big names combine and really. Because, you know, as I said, in those positions, quite often that doesn't result in a goal, or, you know, a defender manages to get in the way. But, you know, Alexis made a great run to, you know, split the defenders, and the ball into Özil was perfect. And James, what did you make of Özil's performance? He got a lot of plaudits. I mean, I will say that I actually thought in the first 20-25 minutes that he wasn't that good. I thought actually he lost the ball a couple of times. He wasn't playing badly, but I felt that he still needed to grow into the game. And I think once he scored the goal, you know, he showed his class by that turn on Kante, you know, was just brilliant. And of course the finish kind of scuffed it into the ground, but I mean, but he was great again, and it's always good to see him, step up in the big games, because that isn't something that he's always done, is it?
Just silencing the critics, mate. Silencing the critics. We all know what this boy can do. We've all seen it, and he spins Kante like a hot point, and he's off. And I'm like, go. Gives it to Sanchez. I'm like, well, Sanchez was going to roll. He's going to roll this in. It's going to be 3-0. Happy days. He chips it over unselfishly, and I'm like, what's it? Ozil, no, you're not going to do it. Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And you say about the scuff, I think he smacked that into the ground, I think that's a really clever finish. He got a bit of luck off the post, but by this point, the top's off the lot. I'm screaming the ass down. Unbelievable. People talk about scenes and everything else like that. We got a lot of clever followers on this, on the old Twitters and everything. Someone tell me that they've put the Titanic music over the top of that. I want that goal. I want that goal with Titanic music.
I'm sure it'll be up before long.
Oh, unbelievable! I mean, have you seen the Righty video where Jake Humphries has posted, where he's talking to him after that goal?
No, I haven't.
He's on cloud nine, mate. Yeah. And he's just got the best smile ever here, right? He really has.
It's always great to see Righty when we've won a big game like that. And so that was 3-0. I mean, Mark, do you think we're getting carried away by saying for a first half performance? I mean, is that as good as United last year? Is it better? Is it the best we've seen? I mean, I can't think of any else that might trump that. I mean, is that jumping the gun a little bit, or?
Look, it was a great performance. I'm not, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to try and dampen down our performance by saying that I thought Chelsea looked very, very off the pace and very patchy in terms of what they were trying to do. As I say, I don't think Conte's got his head around what he wants them to do, and obviously I don't think he's got the players either. To be fair, when he went 3 at the back in the second half, it's just a bit, when you got Cahill and Luiz, I sort of thought, okay, whatever.
Without Terry, they look really vulnerable without Terry in that team.
Well, they are, and people have said it for years that Cahill's not half the defender he is when Terry's playing.
He carries him, mate.
Yeah,
he carries him.
When Terry's not there, he's not really got it, to be fair. But so no, look, I don't want people to get too carried away, because yes. We did exactly the same thing to United, and then we didn't sort of go on from that. So great performance. We need to really, really enjoy it, because for one, it sets down a marker, and two, it's Chelsea. So beating those twats is just brilliant at any time, and obviously it ends that bit of a hoodoo, and we can move on. The only one left now is United, so with Mourinho, so let's go and beat them now and get that one out as well, and really give the guys a mental boost. But yeah, great performance. Let's take it forward. Let's learn from it. Let's understand what we need to do throughout the season. Let's not try and burn out certain players who could quite easily get burnt out if we don't play them properly and give them a little bit of rotation from time to time.
No, I think you make great points, Mark. And there does need to be, a little bit of coming back down to earth. And because the United game, was a very similar time to last season. I think it was October last year. Incredibly similar result, really, in the way that we went about it. With an early blitz at the beginning, and then we kind of saw the game out. And before we look forward, though, we can't really move on, I think, without talking about the defensive performance, because as much as I love, we all talk about the goals and the way we move the ball going forward. The second half I found to be incredibly satisfying, because we saw the game out, and that's something that we're getting better at, I think. But, over the years, that's not always been the case. We let teams get back into games, and, even at 3-1, if there was another half an hour at least on the clock, I think we wouldn't have been in any way sure of the points just yet. But, in specific to that performance, I think that the performances from Koscielny and Mustafi were pretty brilliant, James, because, Costa came into this game as one of the most informed strikers in the league, and of course he's had our number for some time. So, speaking of those two, I mean, again, without wanting to get carried away, as Mark's saying, and talking about them as the best partnership in the league or anything like that, it's how good was it to see, these two guys that haven't played together for more than 2 or 3 games, really have a player like Costa in their back pocket for the whole game, really.
Callum, mate, 12 clearances between them, 10 interceptions, 4 tackles, 2 blocks, 1 clean sheet, 1 fatality of Diego Costa, mate.
He suffocated in his pocket.
What a performance. They at shithoused King Shithouse. They done him. Didn't go. What? They're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. I mean, when we signed Mustafi, I don't know too much about him, but I like the cut of his jip. I like the character. I like how well he's spoken of the club already. You know, he's got that vibe like Mertesacker has, where he's up for a laugh. He don't mind, but he loves the fact that he's in London. He loves the fact he's at Arsenal.
He can move about as well.
Yesterday he was incredible, absolutely incredible. I mean, that's only the centre halves. Like Monreal, this guy's a 7 out of 10 every game anyway.
Well,
the last few he's been a bit ropey. Yesterday, calm again. Brilliant. And then Hector Bellerin. Oh my God. 80% of his passing, won all of his tackles, won all of his aerials. His aerials. Hector Bellerin, all of his aerials. Do you know what? I'm worried. I worry about that price. You know, the price tag's going up game by game. But I'm like, this kid's unreal. He's a world beater. He's an absolute world beater.
Well, I tweeted yesterday after the game, I said that tackle he made on Pedro when it looked like he was going, and it was just really, I think it was the cherry on top of that game. Seeing everyone loves it when a defender manages to somehow get back and win a tackle like that. But I guess with Bellerin, as soon as I saw that he was chasing Pedro, I thought he's not getting anywhere near the area with Bellerin in him. Yeah. And,
but this is the thing, Mark. You were a defender, weren't you, back in the day?
Centre half,
still
mate.
are.
Yeah.
Centre half. Yeah. If you made a tackle like that, Bellerin just gets back up, smiles, carries on. I'd be jumping around like it was a goal. Chuffed if I did.
I used to play as a centre back as well because I had no bloody pace, so that's where they put me. But I honestly, when you win a tackle like that, or if you got you made a real crunching tackle, you wouldn't celebrate, but inside you'd be like, get in, and you'd that would feel as good as a goal, wouldn't it, Mark?
Oh, it is, mate. Yeah, and by the way, JJ, there's no if I made a tackle like that, mate. I made tackles like that.
Done it in your sleep. You would
do. Yeah, it is the sort of tackle you make, and you think that's why I'm here. Because to me, defending is a mindset, and I think you can see that in certain defenders. I'd say like Cos and Mustafi, you can. With Bellerin, I think there's still slightly a little bit of that, failed right winger mentality that he needs to just work on. His defending does need improving. This boy can be world class. There is no doubt this boy can be world class. He has a long way to go yet, but he can get there if he learns how to be a good defender, defensive right back, and to do what he needs to do there, and also to be part of a unit. Which is a main thing, is how he works alongside the centre half that's inside him, and how he works with the midfield player in front of him. If he really improves all that, this boy can be completely world class. He's got everything in his locker to do it. And just to go back to Theo, give Theo real credit. He got a lot of stick last season, and I believe he deserved it because it was like watching a different player, but. Particularly, when he bottled that challenge at Sunderland and that, this is where Theo deserves the stick that he gets when he does things like that. Yesterday, that was the Theo that you want to see. He worked hard. He has got pace, but now hopefully he's going to, he's learning, or he has done over the years, to try and put some movement in with it. Now that if it seems like Wenger has, made sure he understands you're going to play on the right hand side of the forward, so get used to it. He can really damage teams, and also if he puts the work in going backwards as well, then he has still got a big future at Arsenal. But he has to do that consistently. There's no point in him doing it every now and then. He has to do that consistently, the way that Freddie did, and the way that Bobby did on the wings of that great team. They worked their bollocks off as much as they worked up front and created stuff. They worked hard to protect Cole and Lauren as well.
No, I think you make a very good point. And I in the summer I wanted Walcott Soul, to be honest. I was kind of sick of him. He wasn't performing well at all last year, and whilst he was playing, I say out of position, he's been talking about being a striker for years, and then he gets his chance, and he had a few good games, but towards the end of last season he was just was a shadow of the player he once was, and it wasn't just, not being a particularly effective player. It was just the basics, the amount of passes he would lose. He would get the ball, a defender would come up to him, and he just looked like he was, like I said before, a deer in headlights. He had no idea what to do with it. And, moving him back to the right, I think has been a good decision from Wenger this season, because it's, just said to him, look, Theo, you're not good at many things, but the things you are good at, you're really good at, when you're actually on form. And that's, scoring goals, getting behind the defence on that wing and hitting some crosses in with his strong foot, So, yeah, I think we can all say, with regards to Theo, let's hope it continues. And one other thing I want to mention before we do move on from the game is I want to just have a quick word for Kieran Gibbs, because he's a guy who has, seldom seen any game time this season, and he came on, playing in front of Monreal, as he so often did last season. But rather than just kind of, making a few, basic contributions, he made a great tackle, winning the ball back when it came to the back post, and then of course he had that great bit of skill when he flicked it over the defender. And James, what do you think of Gibbs? Do you think it was a nice reminder, I guess, to see what why he's still in the squad, isn't it?
You know what? I've always been a big, harsh critic on Kieran Gibbs, but I actually prefer him when he comes in this midfield bit. I call him Louis Gibbo. I think he's brilliant when he plays in that midfield role, because I don't think he's too bad going forward. I just think defensively, all right, he done brilliantly with that tackle the other day, and I just think he's a lot better. And I mean, when he flicked the ball over, I'm trying to remember who it was.
Aspilicueta, maybe.
It might have been Aspilicueta. I can't remember which one it was. Flicked it over their head. I'm like, oh, here we go on, boy. Have a crack, do it, have a go yourself or whatever. But no, he was brilliant when he come on. I was really, really impressed when he come on. And what I like about him is that he could easily, he was linked with West Ham and Liverpool. But he's gone, no, you know what? I ain't gonna moan. I'm gonna knuckle down, do my business on the pitch. And fair play to the boy. He's done well.
We need players like that as well. We need squad players who, when they aren't going to mope, and when they get their opportunities, they're going to take them. And we saw that again against Forest. A lot of players came in who hadn't been playing, and they did really well. Gibbs, I think he's a favourite with a lot of the fans because he's an Arsenal boy, and Monreal hasn't been great this season. No, we're not up to his normal standard. So that was proof again. Like, if Monreal doesn't improve,
this is one of the big things that I'll take from this game is that how many times have you watched, when the shoe's been on the other foot, and you look at all the Arsenal team and you see in their faces their arses have dropped. They're like, oh God, no, this is it now. You saw that there was a point where Willian, Hazard, they had about 10 of them in the box because they did not trust Cahill and Luiz. And you looked at David Luiz and he knew, we fucked this. This could go 6s, 7s. This is awful. Courtois, in the end, is like, I don't trust you two at all. I'm coming out. I'm sorting it out. He's screaming at them. They all were, and it was brilliant because we've been on the end of that for so many years against these big teams where, we've got a player sent off or whatever, and it just all capitulates and goes to crap. And it was so good to inflict it on somebody. It's so good to be on the other end, and that's a testament to this squad. Like, I think this is the best mentality of a squad we've had in ages. Like, they just seem like a proper decent set.
Well, it's interesting because Chelsea, of course, for years have had all these leaders in the team. Terry, Cech, who now plays for us, of course, Sen, Lampard, Carvalho, these guys that were big characters, and all of a sudden they seem to have kind of lost them a little bit. Whilst we've kind of slowly began to accumulate them. And a point I made in the last podcast I was on was that I think the 3 players we signed in the summer were all captains from their former clubs. So there's definitely, I think, a desire from Wenger to fill the squad with these characters, and bit by bit, I think we're getting there. So again, before we move on from the game, Mark, did you want to say something about Mustafi as well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I just wanted to say, you remember, so last season, I think when we played at the Bridge, we were all looking forward to Gabriel being up against Costa because we thought, especially with their history back in Spain, I think we were looking forward to him, seeing him sort of how he would face up against him. And I think he actually let it get to him a bit much. So I was interested to see how Mustafi would do. And And I was so pleased with his performance. I thought he was excellent because he was calm. He didn't look like he was going to get wound up at any point in the game. Not that they really ever looked like riling us too much, because Costa, it was basically Costa on his own, and really he got bullied by the two of them, to be fair. So I was really, really pleased with Mustafi. I thought he looked good, and I think he's a very good foil for Koscielny. And I look forward to watching them two develop as the season goes on, because hopefully they can only get better.
And what I like about Mustafi is that, with Mertesacker and Koscielny, they had a period where they were really good together. And I think if we got the system right, and because with Mertesacker, he's a very slow, not very mobile player, and we have to get the system right to accommodate for that. But that often meant that sometimes Koscielny was always having to. He's a player that likes to play on the front foot, but often if he did that, he would leave Mertesacker exposed somewhat because of his lack of pace. Being the last man, you never really felt confident with him in there. But Mustafi is a player like Koscielny, he's very mobile. You feel like they can bail each other out if they get themselves into bad situations. And unlike Gabriel, who is always felt a bit erratic and easy to wound up, and maybe doesn't have that concentration you really need at the top level, Mustafi really looks like a player who's got that nice balance between he gets himself about and he wins tackles, but he's not reckless, I don't think. And, it's still early days and he will make mistakes, as all defenders, I think, new to the league will. But yesterday was a brilliant precursor for what we hope can be a really good, partnership. And it would be great to have two centre-halves who are fantastic, who work together. Because I think, every title winning team tends to have, that in, whether it's, Campbell and Toure or Robert Huth and Wes Morgan, they always perform well together, and we need that, and that was a really good sign yesterday, I think.
I don't want to get carried away with Mustafi or whatever, because like you said, he will make a mistake and people will go, oh, that's what you get, and that's what you're getting, like, people are always going to pluck. But for me, this guy is going to show everyone, in my opinion, just how good of a signing he really is, because he's the first centre-back I've seen in Arsenal for a long time that will go, do you know what, we'll have a nice football match, but if you want to go, we'll go as well. Because, like you've said, Gabriel just knows destroy at the moment.
He's too far the other way, I think.
Yeah, you can knock that out of him. You can calm him down. But Mustafi, for me, is so complete. And I said it before the other day, and I'll say it again. This guy reminds me of the Nemanja Vidic. He's got everything. He's like, if you want to fight, we'll have a fight. But if you want a nice, good, clean game of football. And I mean, he did not let him rile him at all yesterday. They did not, even Koscielny as well, but they played it perfectly. And they were superb, even in the air, everything.
There's no greater sight than Diego Costa being wound up because he can't have a sniff, and that was what they did brilliantly yesterday. So
I think he was in the box twice all game, and that was in the first half. I don't think he got anything second half.
And he'd been in great form coming up to this, so it was a testament to both of Koscielny and Mustafi's displays that he was so quiet.
I mean, the service to him was shit, but that's because they blocked it out as well.
That is true, but anyway. Anyway, guys, I mean, we can all agree that was a bloody great win, and we could talk about it for days. But, I think we've gone over everything well. Mark, you mentioned, 10 minutes or so ago about keeping things calm and not getting carried away, which I think is a very good point, because after the United game last season, I can't remember, we had a really good period last year for about 5 or 6 games where we beat Leicester 5-2, I remember. We beat Watford 3-0 and we beat United at home. And then things dropped off very quickly. So, looking at the fixtures we've got coming up, I mean, this was the big game we had, and we've got Champions League games against Basel and the double header against Ludogorets. We've also got Burnley away, Swansea at home, Middlesbrough at home, Reading in the cup, Sunderland away, and then we go to Tottenham. We host Tottenham at the beginning of November. So for the next 6 weeks or so, we've got a really good, winnable stretch of fixtures. And I mean, Mark, how would you be approaching this run? I mean, again, you don't want to get carried away, but again, we could really put together a nice set of wins here, couldn't we? We
can, and I guess that's where the manager's going to have to earn his wages, because, as we said, we've got to make sure that we're kind of getting some sort of rotation in there rather than burning these players out. But also, we have to make sure that we're trying to put a team out that is more than capable of winning each one of those games. So, this is where he's really going to earn his corn. Some of those games are, you would look at them on paper and say that they're they're favourable games to have at this time. Certainly I think we've got a tough game on Wednesday, and then another trip up north to Burnley where it will be difficult. But there's we need to be coming away from Burnley with 3 points, to be fair. Then the rest of those games, they're all winnable. Reading, obviously, will rest a lot of players. I'd like to think that, at home to Ludogorets, we can maybe give at least one or two a bit of a break. No disrespect to them. And Sunderland away as well. Because then you're entering in that 3-game period where we've got Spurs at home, United away, and then PSG at home, and those are 3 huge games for us, and we have to really look to be getting something out of those. So it's difficult, but I'd like to think that if we get players fit, we'll have enough to rotate. I think one of the problems is we've already seen now that we're probably going to lose Koch for a while, and we haven't really got anyone who does quite what Koch does the way he does it as well. So that's a bit of that's a real shame, to be perfectly honest, because it means what do you do now? Is Xhaka and Xhaka and Cazorla are going to be the starting pair? Can El Neni come and do what Coquelin does? He has a slightly different game to Coquelin.
Ramsey's back as well.
Yeah, I'm not convinced Ramsey could come in and do what Coquelin does, because I don't think he's got discipline, but obviously Ramsey gives us another option completely. So it's just, we need to avoid having any more injuries. We need to try and give some players a bit of a rest. I don't want to see Alexis having to do too many minutes up front on his own, because the guy just covers so many miles when he's up there. It's unbelievable. So I just think it's key to try and get a little bit of rotation in there without weakening the side too much.
Yeah, and that decision to loan Wilshere, I guess we'll find out in the next few months whether that was a good one or not. Coquelin, I guess the nice thing is that, when we lost Coquelin at West Brom last season, there was there was a feeling that was it. We lost an integral part of our team and we had no one to come in for him. We had Arteta and Flamini, and I guess the nice thing now is that we have, El Neni might not be everyone's cup of tea, but he's certainly more of a better choice than Arteta or Flamini were last season, and of course Xhaka as well. So I think again, I'm a huge Coquelin fan, and what you say about him, he does a job that no one else does in the team. And whilst I think Xhaka could play as the most defensive player in the midfield quite comfortably, as far as like a destroyer who will really dominate games in the midfield like we saw yesterday, Coquelin really is a big player for that. So, let's all keep fingers crossed that he's not as bad as it was last season, and we'll see him back before long. But, we do have the option. So, with this run of games then, James, what I want to talk about really is how you feel about our title chances right now, because I think, when we started the season so poorly, my worry was that we would see City, United and Chelsea. They were on 9 points after 3 games. We were on 1. Was it on 1? No, we were on 4. But I worried that we were just going to see them go over the hill if we didn't, and thankfully we picked ourselves up. United and Chelsea have fallen away, but I'm going to be completely honest. I fancy us to finish second or third, but I can't see us catching City. How do you think it's shaping up, James?
Yeah, exactly the same boat, mate. Exactly the same boat. And you got these people that are giving it about City Invincibles. I'm like, I think they'll drop points eventually. Someone will do them. If it could be us, great. But no, in terms of looking at it now for me and the other teams, I still think United are going to have a say. I know they're dog shit. I know they're not as good as people think they are, and they've wasted a bit of money, and But for me, Rooney was their problem. People were slagging Pogba off. Rooney was the issue. He'll come back in the team and he'll try and be motivated and something. I still believe they're going to have a bit of a say, but for me, no. I definitely think City just look like a completely different animal to whatever else is out there. And we talk about our players and praise our players to the hill, but at the moment, Kevin De Bruyne for me, I'm loving watching this guy.
Well, he's out for a month injured.
Yeah, that is a big blow. But if you look at it, they haven't had what the architects of their previous champions, wins. That there's no company. Aguero's been away for ages. Yaya Touré's completely gone.
Well, Aguero,
and they're still doing bits. They're still doing their bits. So you can't slate them.
How do you see it shaping up, Mark? It's early days still, and we've definitely improved the last few weeks. as Chelsea and City Chelsea and United have fallen away a little bit. I mean, do you think we're going to be battling away with the teams behind City, or do you think? I mean, is there any way you can see us? I mean, again, I don't want to feel like I'm jumping the gun a bit with City because they started last season very well, but for me, it's the players they've got, and that with Guardiola and his style of football, I can only see it getting better for them, and they've already started incredibly well. We saw, Sterling it looks like a completely different player now, and they've got other guys to come into the team, and is it pessimistic to say that we're not going to catch City at this point, or are you kind of thinking that way as well?
No, I mean, look, there's a hell of a long way to go. There's 32 games left, including 2 against City. They look good, but we know that playing that style of football, it's a long season to play that style of football and keep it going and keep winning. He's got to put up with an English winter rather than a Spanish one. I know he was in Munich last year, but it's
they have a little break, don't they, as well?
Yeah, and a slightly less competitive league. But I think he's got an English winter to put up with. He's got a lot more games to play than he has done with his previous clubs. And they look good, and I think they're definitely going to be the team to catch. For us, I think it really depends on our fitness and avoiding injuries. If we were to lose some key players, I can see us dropping points, and which would probably cost us the same as it did last year. So it's really key that we have a bit of luck with injuries, but we also manage it a bit better as well. And instead of causing Alexis to be injured at Norwich, give the guy a rest. Instead of Santi's injury being quite so bad, take him off when the first injury happens. Don't let him carry on playing with it. That sort of thing. I think if we have a bit more sense about us, again, as James pointed out to or yourselves. No, sorry, it was yourself, Cal. Jack Wilshere, could he have played a part this season compared to the benefit of sending him on loan? Who knows? But I think we could be there or thereabouts. Definitely there or thereabouts. But I agree. I think City will be the team to catch, and I think the rest of us will all be fighting each other to try and catch them if we can, and then be the first in that pack.
Mm. Well, I didn't expect, Mark, that you'd be the most, optimistic out of the three of us. But no, I think you made a lot of good points. And again, football is a funny old game. I mean, when United won 3 wins out of 3 and looking really good, and then of course they lost 3 games in a week, and then suddenly they're shit again. That's just the way it is with football. And then of course, then they win, Pogba scores, and everyone's like, oh, okay, maybe they're not. I think there does need to be a bit of a, all right, guys, let's see where we are Christmas time, or even for another couple of months, because it is early days, and who knows? City, De Bruyne has been injured a little bit, so you're right, Mark, it is early days. One thing my biggest concern with regards to Arsenal, aside from injuries, is also just the manager picking the right team week in, week out. And you spoke about rotation, but one thing that's always driven me absolutely mad is when people say, if we had signed X, Y, and Z, we'd have won the league for sure. Right? As if it's just having the best squad that wins you the league, when we've seen with Leicester last season that it's far, far from that. It's getting the best at your team week in, week out, managing your squad, and picking the right team for the right opposition every game. And that's the thing that I do worry with Wenger, is that I don't have. Again, pay him his dues. He got it spot on yesterday, I felt, but there is a concern that we aren't going to be. We're going to struggle in games where he gets the team selection wrong, or we overplay players and they burn out and stuff. So that's really our title chances hinge more on that, I think, than anything else. Of course, although injuries are always a worry, it's all about getting the right team. And anyway, guys, before we finish up today, speaking of Wenger, it is, of course, 20 years this week that Arsene Wenger became manager of Arsenal. And I think whilst, Mark, you're a very vocal critic, and I think you're very fair in your criticism, but you're perhaps more vocal about it than most fans. And I don't know how you feel, James, but I'm kind of the opinion that if Wenger said that this was his last season, I'd be quite happy for a change to occur next summer. But with the anniversary of his tenure. It was nice to see him get the win, to see the team get the win, because of course it was his 2000th game, wasn't it, when we lost 6-0 at Chelsea, and that was a real embarrassing moment for everyone involved, I think. But I'm going to start with you, James, and we'll go on to Mark about Wenger. We've all got criticisms of the man. I think we're all open to the idea of change happening sooner rather than later. But how great was it to see? Yesterday was one of the best cases we've seen in the Emirates era, at least, of Wenger ball at its finest. And I guess even if we don't achieve what we want this season, I hope we have at least a few more games like that where we can be reminded of what we can do and what he can bring as a manager to this team when it all works, because it looks pretty special, doesn't it, when it does come together?
Yeah, I mean, what more could be said about the guy? He is. I'm grateful for the 20 years of service. Being born in '91, all right. I used to go back in '96 as well, just before he come in, but I was 4 or 5, so I can't really. He's pretty much all I've been brought up with. Which some people say that's very lucky, Mark. You probably agree with me there. But he's all I know. I do believe that the time for change is right. However, this is a guy, and we said about not getting carried away, but this is a guy whenever his chips are down, whenever it all looks like it's gone wrong, he does pull something out of the bag. And I still think that there is an ending to this story where all of us are going to go, well, bloody hell, where did that come from? And I don't know what it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a tragedy. I really don't think it's going to be a tragedy. But he's going to go out in a way where all of us are going to go, bloody hell. And I don't know what that is going to be. But wait and see. Could be. Could
so that'd be quite it. But
I'm telling you now, that FA Cup final when them Hull goals went in, I thought, this is it. He's dead. He's gone. Yeah. And he got out free. And I can see it all. I can see it all over again. Something's going to happen here, and we're literally, like I've said, we're all going to meet up again, and we're all going to speak again, and we're all going to go, "What the fuck is this? This is incredible."
Well, for me, before I pass it over to you, Mark, my kind of take on the last few years of Wenger is that I think if he left in 2012 or 2013, those years between the Emirates and when we won the FA Cup, those 8 years or so, are contentious because people feel like we lost a lot of ground. We should have won league titles when we didn't. But I believe that, with the 2 FA Cup wins and if we get Özil and Alexis down to long-term contracts and and if he were to hand over the torch next summer, I feel like it's tough to really judge this, but I think that his continual stay would be justified. And whilst a lot of people would have felt he should have got the sack a long time ago, those 2 FA Cup wins and the state of the squad he'll be leaving if we do indeed keep Özil and Alexis and a lot of the big players here, I feel like there will be kind of people will have thought it should have happened earlier, but there will be kind of an acceptance that actually he's leaving us in a good spot, and that the last 10 years weren't, even though they pale in comparison to the success of his first 10, they won't have been a total waste. And Mark, we know how you feeling about the manager, but when you saw the game yesterday, were you not in the slightest bit happy for him?
I was happy for the fans, mate. To be fair,
it's
20. I don't think Arsene Wenger's bothered about it being 20 years. By the way, you nearly give me a heart attack there, mate. Arsene Wenger won't make 2,000 games with Arsenal. Yeah, it was 1,000 games. Yeah, let's not get carried away.
Okay.
Yeah, Jesus wept. Palpitations. Now look, from my point of view, I've been able to view other managers of the Arsenal other than Arsene Wenger, so it does give me sort of like a little bit more comparison. Some of them obviously come up a lot short in comparison to Wenger, and some of them mean a hell of a lot to me still. The likes of sort of Bertie Mee and George Graham, who I saw manage the club, still have a place in my heart. For Arsene Wenger, the man. This is why I get so frustrated. Right, Arsene Wenger should be a legend, and he will be for a lot of people. Undoubtedly, a lot of people will still see him as a legend, but he should have been a legend for all Arsenal fans. What he did when he came in and revolutionised the way that the club was run, and the players went about their business, and the football that we played was brilliant, and everybody recognises that. That he changed the English game, not just Arsenal, but he changed the English game, and what he did was amazing. And that first period up until definitely 2006, for me, he was an amazing manager. I just feel that people caught on to what he was doing, and they just started to do it a little bit better. I think he got a bit stubborn, stuck in his ways. When money was short, it wasn't as short as he decided he'd pretend it was, and he went with the youth project, and he gambled on it, and it nearly came through for him a couple of times, and it would have been legendary if he could have won the league in 2008, when I sort of firmly believe we had a team that could have won it. I think that would have been an amazing achievement for him. But and I just feel he's kind of lost his way, and I am a critic of him. Yes, I think he should have left several seasons ago. Yes, I hope this is his last season. I am really gutted to see some of the abuse that he gets on Twitter, because some of it goes too far. But I won't stop criticising him. And the thing is, yesterday it's kind of like, I can't say what I say about him on Twitter, and then people are saying to me, "Oh, are you gonna sing his name, or are you gonna praise him?" No, I'm not gonna do that, because that would be really hypocritical, and that's not me on Twitter. What you see when you meet me outside of Twitter is what you get on Twitter. So I'm not gonna go there and sing his name or anything like that, and then say he needs to be sacked 3 years ago. But probably you're right. I think what JJ said. I think probably Santi Cazorla saved Arsene Wenger's Arsenal career, maybe, with that free kick against Hull. Because we might have been banging trouble if that hadn't gone in. I'm
adamant he would have gone that summer if he hadn't.
Yeah.
Some people seem to think that he was always going to sign the contract because of, a lot of people like to point to how much money he makes and say there's no way he would have turned down $6 million a year. He was just dragging it out, hoping that we would win the cup and that he would have more reason to. But I'm 90% sure that if we'd lost that game, there's no coming back from that. Having lost the League Cup a few years before, having lost to Hull in the final, I think he would have called it a day then. And I think with this, the reason why we're in his last year again, and people say again he doesn't want to do it at a time when the fans aren't behind him because it will cause an uproar if he signed a 3-year contract now. But I think more of the reason is that I think if we finish top 4 again, but nowhere near the league, and we drop out of Europe in the last 16, and I think that I don't think he'll stay on anymore. I think when he signed his contract in 2014, that FA Cup win, whether you agree with it or not, I think was seen by him and by a lot of the fans as justification for staying on. And with the signings of Özil and Alexis since, and Cech and Xhaka, big money's being spent and big names. And we did win the FA Cup again, and last season was disappointing. I think last season was what really did it for me. I thought if we don't win it this year, we're never going to win it again. And if he does sign another 3-year contract, I still don't think we'll ever win the league again with him in charge. Just because I think what you say, Mark, about the game, he was an innovator, but football in 1996 or even 2006 is incredibly different to what it is now. And we've seen. It's been tough in a way, I think, to watch, Liverpool get Klopp, to see City get Guardiola. These are managers that are undoubtedly the best in the world at the moment. And Wenger, whilst we saw yesterday the kind of, this is Wenger at his best, we can play some incredible football and get a great result. The problems that have dogged him in recent years are the same problems that we've had for a long time. And I think, for me, if we're going to fail as a club, not with the league or whatever, I want to see us try something different and fail. Not fail for the same reasons year in, year out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. From the point of view of this season, I think he hasn't quite gone as far as he needed to in terms of players coming in, going out, say, and I just think, tactically, he's not at the level of some of them nowadays, which will just sort of cost him. I think we'll always be there or thereabouts, but I just don't think he's got it in him to lead a team to a league title, because there are so many things that he would need to get right to do that. You know, it would be about the players and the physicality. It would be about managing their workload. It would be about managing their fitness and rotation. It would be about tactics. It would be about the mentality of the team. And that's where I just sort of think nowadays I'm not convinced that he's going to be able to get all of that right. You know, and sometimes it all just slips in, like it did for Leicester. It just all kind of like slotted in for them, you know, once in a 50-year probably Premier League win for a club like Leicester to kind of everything, all the dominoes to fall at the right time. I don't see him doing it. But, you know, I am gutted because he should have been a legend. He should have had a statue outside there, and people should have spoken of Wenger in the same way that they speak about Herbert Chapman in what he's done for this club. But it won't happen, unfortunately, because of how, you know, the fans have become divided about his position, and it's a real shame. And it gives me no pleasure to see the divide of the fans and the abuse he gets and the abuse that both sides of the fence give each other. And I know people will say, you know, you're one of the ones that do it. Well, yeah, that's right, but that's just because I believe in my opinion, and I'll stand up for my opinion, and I expect people to do the same, and we'll have a discussion on Twitter and, you know, try and keep it respectful. But yes, it's such a pity, and I just hope that we have a good season and that maybe he can decide to bow out without it really going down the pan totally.
There's a twist in the tale, trust me.
JJ, listen, mate, I hope there is. I hope you're right. I hope he is right. I will come on here, and I've said it probably 2-3 years ago when I was on Burkamp Wonderland, when I was conversing with Ayatollah Jeff Arsenal. I will come on here and I will eat humble pie.
We all will
praise him.
We all will
praise him if he can prove me wrong. I just
don't. I'm telling you, there is going to be something, and we're all going to go, "How the fuck has he done that?" And we'll never know. We'll never know. Only
this is the what you're talking about, James. It's so tough. Like it's the romanticism of it, isn't it? I mean, we all dream. I mean, Mark, you're a very vocal critic, and I think even you would want to see Wenger go out on a high, just because it would mean us winning a title or us winning the Champions League or something like that, you know. And it's what you say about Leicester, with every domino falling into place. It's felt so often that we've just had every domino but one. You know, in 2008 we had such an incredible team going forward, but you can pinpoint. So over the last 10 years, there's been little periods where we've just not quite had enough to get there. And you know, I think if we had this squad with this mentality 5 or 6 years ago, we would have won the league. And you know, there was a time where if he'd won the league in 2008 with you know quote unquote Project Youth, it would have been an incredible achievement. But we just, you know, it would have been incredible because we shouldn't have won the league that year because the squad wasn't good enough. And we've had, you know, we saw with Man United year after year, Ferguson managing to just get that bit extra out of his team every season that Wenger just didn't quite have in these last 10 years. But anyway, we could.
One thing I will say, just quickly as well, is that, you know, we're not in the pundit size, in the big scale of things. Arsenal aren't really in the question for people, and I think that plays well for us. You know, we just get on with our own thing. You know, we're not getting caught in the hype and all this. You know, we're not getting caught in the hype train, and I like that. You know, I like the fact that people go, "No, Arsenal ain't going to do it." That's because, you know, there was people yesterday. No, they ain't going to beat Chelsea. And look, you know, we'll show you. We'll show
last season it was, you know, between us, Leicester, and Spurs, and for a long period. And you know, if anyone was going to win the league out of those three teams, it should have been us. You know, but this year, you know, I think, you know, Liverpool looking really good. Spurs are a point ahead of us still. You know, it's going to be competitive this year. It might be City out on their own and five other teams battle it out for the rest of the spots. But anyway, guys, that was really good, that chat. And thanks both of you for coming on. You know, I think we picked the Chelsea game to bits there, and we all thoroughly enjoyed it. But you know, we've got Basel on Wednesday to look forward to now, and let's hope that we can build on this. And you know, this isn't a standout result in a season of and you know, with not many other great results. Let's hopefully this is the first of many. So, James, as ever, thanks for coming on, mate.
Oh, thank you, mate. Pleasure.
Good to chat to you again, mate. And Mark, I think your talk on Wenger there, no one could begrudge you your opinions there. I think you're very fair, even if some people might not think so. I think.
No worries. Thanks, Cal.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And so thanks for listening, everyone. You can follow us on Twitter at Gooner Ramble, and you'll see all our Twitter accounts featuring on there as well. So yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll be back in midweek with a podcast after the Basel game. Okay, good night.
This podcast is sponsored by www.gambleriskfree.com, teaching you how to make guaranteed profit from bookies. Any free bet you get teaches you how to turn it into real withdrawable cash. They also find free bets for you so you don't have to do any work. Take a look at their website and enter the promo code GoonerRamble when joining. GambleRiskFree.com.